everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And I'm really excited today. We are here talking musical theater because that's one of my favorite things. And we've about every 6 months, we've been doing these updates. It's a lot of fun. And I'm film and theater critic, Rachel Wagner, and Jax is here.
Yay, Rachel, I love talking about theater with you. So
Yeah.
thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thank you so much. So since we last talked was in July, and I have seen exactly to the number 50 shows since we talked in July.
Rachel, and you see so many movies too. I don't know how you do it.
It's pretty crazy. And that includes a New York trip. And the New York trip, I was there for the New York Film Festival. So I only saw 3 shows.
You only saw
I know, only saw 3 shows. But my other trip in March, I saw 6. So, but I think it's kind of nice sometimes to also spread it out a little bit and not sometimes it makes it feel a little more special sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's been kind of a crazy season on Broadway. I've had something like the K-pop musical came and went in only 11 shows. That makes me so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That always shocks me when something is in and out that quickly.
Yeah, you would think that they'd want to give it just a little bit of room to like breathe and kind of get a following. And I mean, they must have just been that bad, the sales.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody who saw it?
No, I don't actually.
I guess that's telling.
Yeah, that is telling.
Yeah. I mean, this last trip, I saw Chicago for the first time, which was fun.
It's such a fun musical.
Yeah, and you can see why that has lasted so long because it's very simple. There's hardly any sets. It's not like Beetlejuice, which is so expensive. You can feel the money in every scene. In Chicago, there's really it's just a like stand for the musicians, and that's it.
And I think with Chicago, they are iconic characters. So many actors can cycle through and play them that it's not so much a star vehicle that like it's a show that was built around someone.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. Yeah, that's true. And when you watch it, you're like, oh, okay, this is why. It's just a very cheap show to do, you can tell, but also just has sort of lasting appeal and catchy songs.
Yes, for sure.
Would you have a favorite song out of Chicago?
Oh yeah, I love Cell Block Tango.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
How about you?
I think Mr. Cellophane is the best song. It's such a good song. And I actually, speaking of favorite songs, I created a playlist in Spotify of my favorite song from every musical that has a cast recording that I saw in 2022. So I'll put a link down to that on Spotify. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to pick the favorite song from every show. And obviously there were some shows like Almost Famous, which I saw on Broadway, that doesn't have a cast recording yet, so that's not included. But for everyone that did, and yeah, it's interesting about Almost Famous because it's also gone, and or leaving, and that doesn't really surprise me that much. When I watched it, I enjoyed it just because I enjoy musical theater. It's pretty hard for me to not enjoy a show, but it did feel surprisingly bland. They had a lot of the show, it's not all cover songs like you think it's going to be. And it takes a while for the cover songs to start. And those are probably the best part, just because they're like good songs. And there's, what is it? There's an Elton John song and I can't think of it. That's the first kind of cover that you really hear. But none of the songs stood out to me. Like I can't even remember the cover songs. There was just nothing that felt that memorable to it. And it is like slightly awkward. I mean, it was based on Cameron Crowe's life, but you've got this like teenager that's hanging out with this band, and there's like sexual situations and other things like that. And he's like lying about his age, but nevertheless, like it's a little awkward, I think, of a show. And so I'm not hugely surprised that it didn't last long.
Yeah, it's always interesting too when something gets turned into a musical like that. Like I feel like Once was one of those that like actually I was obsessed with the movie, and then the musical was able to take a lot of the great things about the movie and have the same feel, but also make it its own spectacular theatrical.
Yeah,
It was very different from the movie as well.
it's true. Yeah. I mean, and almost every, it's kind of sad because almost every musical these days is based on a movie. But it's such a big risk that I can understand why they want that kind of IP recognition.
Absolutely.
And I did see Beetlejuice as well, and I was very impressed by it. Have you seen it? Have you gotten to see Beetlejuice?
No, is Alex Brightman still Beetlejuice?
As far as I
Okay.
know, I just read that I guess he's out for a little bit because he hurt his voice or something. And
Wow.
it's amazing that he was able to play that part for as long as he did, because that
I
it
know.
just feels like a stretch of a voice to do that, the way it's so shouty and so gravelly.
Yeah.
That it feels like, I don't know. And I felt like it was one of the most impressive production designs I've ever seen.
Real, like totally
Yeah.
spectacular.
Yeah, the sets, unbelievable. Every single one. I mean, like I said, you could just feel the money in this. It was very expensive. And I think it also, because it's at the Marriott now theater at in the Marriott Hotel, it felt very Vegas-y. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have a run of it in Vegas. And I think it being in the hotel made it feel even more Vegas-y.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But
I
one
think
thing
it
that was,
works in Vegas.
yeah, one thing that was very annoying though, when I was watching Beetlejuice, is that there were two teenage girls near me that were singing along to every song. And that's just annoying. Like, I appreciate that you love the show, but some of us haven't seen it before and we want to hear the professionals sing, not you.
Yeah, theater etiquette. I just saw Into the Woods a couple days ago, and there was a family next to me that two of the family members were on their phone for a lot of the time, and the usher had to come over and tell them to stop. I was like, what are you doing, you guys?
Yeah. So how was, aside from that, I was Into the Woods?
Amazing. My
Yeah.
friend is a standby for Into the Woods, and she was going on as Jack's mom. So I got to see her do it. She had done The Witch a few days before, but I couldn't get to theater in time. But yeah, Into the Woods is incredible. It's everything you love about Into the Woods, but it actually feels fresher and funnier without trying to like reinvent the wheel.
Cool. Yeah. It is exciting when you get to, I think sometimes when you get the understudies and the swings.
Yeah.
I saw Moulin Rouge, the touring company in Utah, and I didn't know till after that the Celine was the understudy.
Really? Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, because I was a little late getting in, so I guess I missed the announcement or whatever. And so that was pretty cool. I would say, I mean, I enjoyed the show. I just love musical theater, and it was good. I kind of wish they had maybe taken a little bit more of a risk. It felt very safe
Yeah.
to me, which is probably what you have to do to get a long running show these days.
Yep.
But it was still really good and fun spectacle to hear all the cover songs. And I can only imagine with Aaron Tveit doing it. And I guess he's coming back. Did you hear that?
Oh, I did not know that. I saw to do it. Who I love Derek Klena. He's so great.
Yeah, I just read that. I forget when it is that he's coming back, but that he was coming back. One cool thing that I experienced this year was because I've been writing for Utah Theater Bloggers Association at BYU, my alma mater. They were doing these staged readings, which I had never been to a staged reading before. And so that was a new experience. And the first one I didn't love. It was called, it was a play. What was it called? It's Cleaners or Cleaning Lady or something like that. Where is it? Clean House. Clean House, it was called, as a play. And I just didn't think it was that funny or insightful as it seemed to think it was. What's that?
Is that the one that Sarah Ruhl wrote?
Yes.
Yeah, I used to really like her stuff. She kind of, I don't know what she's doing right now, actually, because for she was really the hot thing about like maybe like 8 to 10 years ago, and then
Yeah.
she's doing. I really liked her plays, but I had never seen any of them. I just read them and wanted to do them.
It just felt kind of sitcom-y to me. It didn't feel like authentic. I don't know. I just didn't love it. But like the experience was cool going to the stage reading. And then the next day they did Shakespeare in Love, which obviously is based on the movie. The play came after the movie. And I was so impressed with this one. I thought it was going to be hard because they had a huge cast. There was lots of characters, and I thought, am I going to be able to keep this straight? Because they're all just, wearing black and all like, but they did, and they did a great job. And I was just shocked because BYU is a very traditional school, and the fact that they were taking on this R-rated material really surprised me. So good for them for doing that. And we had a really great discussion after the reading with the director, talking about the themes of the movie, of the stage reading. And so that was just a great experience. And I definitely would go to more stage readings in the future because I thought it was really fun.
I used to love being in stage readings. I haven't been in one in a long time, but they're so fun because you get to like dip your toe into the material, but it's not like a fully realized production. But I think it's a really great way to explore a lot of different material.
Yeah, it was really fun. Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. Another fun thing that I did is there is a movie, I can't talk. There is a musical that had its Broadway tryout here in Salt Lake. Called Shucked, that is going to Broadway next year.
What's it about?
So it's about this this small town that is just known for making corn, and all of a sudden the corn, it's basically like your Magnificent Seven type story. So the corn stops growing, and so they need to figure out a solution. And so she goes, this girl goes to the city to try to find somebody who can fix the corn. And she ends up meeting this dentist who is advertising podiatrist that he fixes corns on like feet, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so she thinks that she sees, and so she brings him back to the small town. And at first, he's a swindler, but then he grows more attached. And so like the story, we've seen it a lot of times, but the songs were fun, and it had so many puns. It was very silly, the script. Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm very curious to see how it will do on Broadway, because I feel like it's been a long time that there's been a new Broadway show that is as simple as this show is. There's no like big set pieces. There's no like, there's one song that's in about being in Tampa. These things in Tampa that I guess has a little bit, but for the most part, it's a very simple show. And I just feel like it's been a long time since there's been something new debuted on Broadway that is really just about the songs and the jokes. So I'm very curious to see how it'll do. I could see it really bombing bad. if people don't it's just so hard with humor. You don't know if people will think it's funny, people will think it's too tired. You don't know. But I could also see it being like a Critical Darling, kind of like
yes,
Spelling Bee or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was just I was kind of going over the last few years, like thinking about all the big musicals that were new, that not based on a movie. There's not that many,
No.
not that many. And
Miles.
mhm. I mean, I guess something like Strange Loop,
Yes.
but that even struggled. This is not as R-rated as Strange Loop, so which I guess is closing now.
Yeah, I'm trying to go this week via the lottery, but yeah, because it's closing on the 15th.
So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what, but I think you'd like it. It was very funny.
Like that's
Very funny. I laughed a lot. So what else did I see? I saw Singing in the Rain. This year, I saw it 5 times.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I love that show. The dancing and this, I wish we probably won't have time because of Sundance, but I wish we had time. We could see a show at this Hale Theater here. They just are incredible, and they have, and I think this Singing in the Rain was the best show they've ever done. I absolutely just loved it. Yeah, I mean, their tickets are expensive, so the fact I went 3 times just at Hale is saying something.
They Singing in the Rain is just such a fun show.
Yeah, I loved it so much, and the rain effects, so fun. I saw it at 2 other theaters aside from Hale, and they all did an incredible job. Reviewed it for Utah Theater Bloggers, and that was really fun. I also saw some classics. I saw The Music Man. I saw Guys and Dolls, and Sound of Music, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, those are all really fun shows. I love Guys and Dolls. Like I just think it's such a fun sit down, you're rocking the boat is so fun. Like so many of the songs.
It has so many bops.
So many bops.
Yeah. And Adelaide, Adelaide's Lament Never Fails to Get Me is hilarious.
I love that was my senior show in college, and I got laryngitis the weekend. Oh, no. But it kind of worked because so I was like, the place can develop. Oh.
Yeah. Is infecting the upper respiratory tract. In other words. It's so good. I got introduced to this theater called the Parker Theater, and it's so cool. Again, I wish we had time when you came out. But it's such a cool theater. They renovated it and like just before the pandemic, and it has this like cool Art Deco style, and they have a soda fountain next door, so you can go get your cream sodas and your brownies and things like that for the show. And it's got such a cool look about it, and they do an incredible job. And they did Hamlet last summer, and it was so good. And then I did my twice a year, I do the Best of Utah Theater. And in this most recent one, their version of Christmas Carol, it won my Best Play award for this. It was absolutely outstanding. I saw it twice. I mean, and for me, because I saw Christmas Carol 4 times this season. I reviewed it 3 times for Utah Theater Bloggers. And so for me to go back again and see it again says something, because it was so good. You would have been so impressed. The script was excellent, and it's so hard to bring some new fresh energy to something like that's been done so many times. But they really focused on the themes of ignorance and want. And you had Jacob Marley as like an actual character in the script. Which was really interesting, and not just the ghost of Jacob Marley, but the character, and the visual effects that the lighting, the production design was so cool. Like the graveyard scene, they have the lighting coming down, and it made it look like it was raining. It was so cool. And then with the sound design and everything. And then whenever you see the ghosts, they had this cool lighting effect that especially for past, of course. And and then they had both past and future were on wires, and so they could fly like through the thing. That was really cool. It was so well done.
My gosh, I Christmas Carol. I love.
Yeah. You would love this theater. It is so nice.
How did you discover it?
I had, it was actually, we had a little training meeting for Utah theater bloggers. And then we as a group all went and saw Hamlet together.
Nice.
So it was actually through Utah theater bloggers that I found out about it. And it is just a real find, a real find. And then let's see what else. It was interesting. They did it was not necessarily a Broadway tryout, but is like a workshopping, I guess, run at Hale Theater for the Unsinkable Molly Brown. And it's kind of interesting because Lin-Manuel's father, I believe, is kind of behind or working with them to try to get this Broadway ready. They were saying, yeah. And it's fun enough show. It was not my favorite. I have not seen the original movie with Debbie Reynolds, which I think she won an Oscar for, if I'm not mistaken. But I haven't seen that. But again, it's one of those shows that didn't really have like a song that really stood out to me or something that I was expecting. It was disappointing because at Hale Theater, they have this giant tank, water tank. And so I was expecting for like at least the Titanic scenes for them to use the tank.
Yeah.
And they didn't really. So that was disappointing. I don't know why they didn't.
Yeah.
But they're doing a Little Mermaid now. And that's kind of the only reason I want to see it is because I'm curious how they use the tank. Because I don't love the Broadway version of Little Mermaid. I don't think it's very well done.
But yeah, I'd be curious.
I mean, those Disney ones are very hit and miss for me. I love Beauty and the Beast. I love Lion King, and but some of the others, I'm not a big fan of the Mary Poppins. I don't love that adaptation. Have you seen it? Mary Poppins?
I've seen Lion King and Aladdin. And they were
I like Aladdin.
Amazing. Aladdin's fun too.
They were lucky with Aladdin because they had unused songs.
Yes.
So they could bring in Proud of Your Boy and other things like that. Whereas they had to write new songs for some of the others. And they just make the stupid decision to have Ursula be Triton's sister, which is just stupid.
Does not make sense.
No, it's stupid. I didn't like that. One cool thing, because I think last time we talked, I mentioned that I didn't love Matilda.
Yeah.
And I still think that it's too long, it's bloated, and I don't think that the fantasy sequences work very well. I would cut all of those out with the escapologist and the trapeze artist. But I saw it at this, it's called Payson Community Theater. I was blown away. The production design, the amount of kids that they got, the cast, everything, all of the performers were excellent. I mean, I just literally can't imagine it being done better, even though it's just this like little community theater. It was so well done that it kind of won me over to the show, even though I think it has problems.
Matilda, if you have some really delightful kids, like it, and it's for kids, sometimes it doesn't matter whether they're professionals or whatever the case is. Like kids are just so talented. Like the ones that are talented are so good.
Yeah, these kids were absolutely outstanding, and the parents were so funny. And so if you're gonna watch the movie on Netflix, movie, well, so the movie, I think it's solid, it's entertaining, it's a good movie, but they do cut out a lot of the show, which it's a bloated show, so I understand that, but I wish they had cut out the escapologist parts, because I think that's the weakest parts, and they kept that in, and they cut out tons of the stuff with the parents, and they cut out her brother, which I don't really understand why they did that. So they don't have Loud, they don't have Telly, the songs that are sung by the parents, they don't have either of those songs. And so I think that that's a shame, because that brings a lot of like comic relief.
Yes.
Whereas it almost becomes this like prison movie without some of that comic relief.
You're like,
Yeah, and I wish they cut out the escapologist parts, because I didn't like that, but it's still a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's fun. And Emma Thompson's great as Trunchbull. Really funny. One that I saw that was the touring company. Well, I saw Lion King, which was amazing. The touring company. That's always incredible. I had terrible seats, but it was still fun. And then I saw the To Kill a Mockingbird, Aaron Sorkin. Yes. And I had very mixed feelings about it. I mean, it's tough because it's like one of my favorite books, and I love the movie. And so to have this new version where they really turned Atticus into kind of a country bumpkin, which I didn't really love, and they tone way down on sort of his heroic moments. And I think they were trying to kind of make him like not a white savior type character, but which I can understand. But in the end, I thought they really they weakened his character so that it just felt kind of bland to me as opposed to feeling heroic. It's like they almost went too far the other way in making him not a hero at all. And so I left with very mixed feelings. I think Richard Thomas was very good in the role. And it was very well made. And the way they did the production was really smart, the set, because they had it going smaller in so that it felt like a whole house, even though it was just sort of your background, if that makes sense. And they were able to have an older actor playing Scout because of the way they set it up. So it made her look shorter.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was cool. And they had when I was going to it, she was out, I think, for COVID, but they had the woman who played Scout in the movie played the old crotchety neighbor in this production.
That's
which is kind of fun.
I like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I had mixed feelings about that. I went and saw the Addams Family at Cedar Rochelle, which is an amazing theater, and they did such a great job. I only ended up seeing one production because I was traveling a lot in October, but there were like 5 theater companies doing the Addams Family here.
Oh, I guess they're like, oh, it's Halloween.
Yeah. And I guess that show, because it kind of bombed, has had this afterlife of in regional community theaters, like been very, very one of the most requested MTI shows, evidently.
That's interesting. I saw it on Broadway and I thought it was cute. Like, it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And I guess they've changed it around. They made it so it works for theater, and they did such a great job. And I thought it was really funny. So that was fun. I also saw, there's a new, it was new to me theater called The Empress, which is in this little town called Magna. It's like an hour away from me, but I went and saw it. They did a chorus line and I was blown away. It's a really cool theater. It's like theater in the round. So you're kind of looking down on the actors, and it was perfect for the show because, it's all the audition, process or whatever. And I had never seen a chorus line. So that was one of my sort of Broadway bucket list, check it off. And I gave in my awards, I gave the best actor to Darren Burnett, who played Paul. And I don't know if you know, Paul has this monologue. It's very famous in a chorus line where he talks about coming out to his family. It's really good. And he did a great job.
I love that musical. There's so much. I mean, I'm not a dancer, but I like the whole, like, God, I hope I get it. I hope I get it. The whole thing of being someone who, like, as an actor, always putting yourself out there and facing rejection. I just think it's a really fun. And What I Did for Love is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, it's so good. So good. Of course, won. So that was really incredible. I mean, I liked it so much. I bought season tickets to the Empress. It's worth driving over 45 minutes because it was so good. I was very impressed. And I just like that they were doing something different. Not the same shows that you see over and over.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Merch Store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Bright Star, there's great theater here called Center Point in Bountiful. It's so good. And they do, I think, professional worthy shows, even though they're amateur technically. And I just absolutely love Bright Star. I think it's such a great show. It's my favorite musical drama 2 years in a row. Different companies doing it, because I just love that show. I love the songs. I love the story. It's got everything. It's emotional, but it's also funny at times, and it's just, I think, a great story and a great show.
Yeah, it has so much heart.
Oh, so good. So that one won. And then let's see here. Oh, I saw Little Shop of Horrors at West Valley Performing Arts Center, and there's just this really great little theater that they did Into the Woods. Not Into the Woods. They did In the Heights. And it was so good. And then they did Little Shop of Horrors, and it was so good. The production quality, the singing, everything was incredible. And I had just seen it in New York. So I had seen Little Shop of Horrors in New York, so it was every bit as good as the production in New York, and obviously for much less money.
Yeah, I saw it for the first time, and I saw the New York production, and I was totally blown away.
So good, huh?
So good.
So funny.
Yeah, and I knew the songs, but I actually did not really know the story. Like, I know the whole like "Feed Me Seymour" thing, but I didn't know the whole thing, and I was like screaming and so excited the whole time.
So there were a bunch of Christmas productions that I saw. I saw, of course, Christmas Carol 4 times, twice at the Parker, and then I saw a really community theater that was basically in this like office building in Bluffdale, and they didn't even have like a proper stage. It just had like lights and in this office building. So there was no like spotlight or anything like that, but like in a way there's something kind of refreshing about that, like true community theater, people doing it,
like
because
we're really doing it.
Yeah. So that was fun. And then I saw it at a place called the Terrace Plaza a theater, and they did Scrooge, which is the from the 1970 movie with Albert Finney.
Yeah.
So that's the one where they have like, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me. And it was a lot of fun songs. So I enjoyed that. And I saw Elf the Musical at Centerpoint, which I still don't love that musical, but it was fun. It was very well done. The production and and so I enjoyed it. And then I saw a show called Nuncrackers, which was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's cute.
Yeah, it was fun. And then I saw A Christmas Story, the musical, twice. I saw it at Sierra and then at Pioneer Theater Company, Pioneer Theater Company is a professional theater company, Equity, in Utah. It's one of the only ones. And that's where I saw Shucked, was at Pioneer Theater Company. And then I saw the Christmas Story. They were both great, really fun, good songs. I think is a good translation of a movie to of course it's Pasek and Paul, and I love their songs. But one of my favorite things was the production at this little tiny theater that was actually performed in the high school. It's called the Regalo Theater Company in Lehigh. they did Shrek, which was so good. And I love Shrek the musical. I think it's so funny. Lord Farquaad his song and his character is so funny in Shrek the musical, but they did a great job with that. But then they did White Christmas.
Oh.
And I think that White Christmas is definitely an improvement upon the movie. I mean, I like the movie fine, but they change, they get rid of the minstrel number, which is awkward in these days. And they don't have Judy and Phil lying to them about getting engaged. They get rid of that. So that's good. But I thought this production was absolutely amazing. I gave the lady who played Betty, I gave her the best actress for my awards. She was so good. And the costumes were out of this world, and the production was really great. Like they paid a lot of attention to detail. Like there's when they sing Snow on the train, they had screens at each window with video of movement to look like they were actually they could have just had it be static, a static image. That would have been fine. But they went the extra detail to have screens so it looked like the train car was moving. That's just the kind of how quality this was. It was so good. And the costumes, when she sings Lover You Did Me Wrong at the club, these were incredible dresses for and some of them were just background dresses, but for just one small scene to put all this work into these beautiful dresses. I was just so impressed. I thought it was absolutely great.
Yeah, I love when you see that there's been such attention to detail that has been paid.
Yeah, I think it's so incredible, the work that goes into these shows, and it just makes it such a wonderful community experience when they do. But I think that's covering most of everything. I did see a production of Rent, and it was kind of sad because I don't know if they just didn't get the auditioners that they normally get, because this is a quality theater. But it was not great. Pretty much every single singer was flat off key for the whole show. But I like Rent. It was fun to see it, and they did a great job with all the production and everything, but the singing was just not great.
Tricky for that, because you got to be able to sing.
Yeah, you really do. But I think that covers most everything that I saw. I saw Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
I love that show so much.
Yeah, that's a really fun one. I saw The Wild Party. That was a new one. That was interesting.
There are 2 wild parties.
Oh, there are?
Yeah, and one is the Lipa. I forget which.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I saw.
Yeah, okay, you did.
Lipa one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was fun. It was different. I saw a youth production of Les Mis, which was fun. But I felt bad because pretty much the big difference between youth productions and other community productions is the mics are always a problem. I've never been to a single youth production that didn't have problems with the mics.
I know.
And in this one, I felt bad because every time the Javert guy started to say, every time his mic gave him problems. And I was just like, poor guy.
Maybe no, it's okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been a great year. I'm looking forward to this next year. I hope I get hope the prices on tickets go down a little bit so I can get a New York trip in there.
Yes, Rachel.
But I ended up going to LA 3 times last year, and I went to New York twice, which is wild.
I think you should aim for that this year too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, thanks so much for coming on and doing this. It's always a lot of fun. It's nice to have somebody to kind of bounce off of,
We'll do it again in a few months when you see even more shows.
Okay, sounds good. Well, if people want to follow you, how can they do that?
Jacqueline C Tweets on Twitter and Jacqueline Collier on Instagram.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And you can find all my theater thoughts either at Utah Theater Bloggers Association or at rachelsmusings.net, which is my sort of personal /theater blog that I have. So you can check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. And we also have the Patreon group and merch store. Check that out. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.